Welcome back to the On the Arts series at Lewis University. Today we're joined by Joe Slowick, who is the theater manager at the Philip Lynch Theater here on campus. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got started getting interested in the theater.
I think I have always been interested in creative, dramatic. When I was a little kid, I did a lot of creative play. I would pretend to be other people all the time. So I think innately it was always there. When I was in high school, I worked backstage on productions. I was in the speech team. And then moving into college, actually Chet Kondratowicz, who was a retired faculty member from here, was very much an inspiration and a mentor to me while I was here pursuing my undergraduate degree in theater. Chet Kondratowicz he was the head of the department here. I graduated, I don't want to say the year, but in '85. And he was the head of the department here at Lewis. He retired in, I want to say 1992. Still very active and involved with the Cultural Arts Board. He actually lives in Chicago now, and he's on the Jeff Committee. The Jeffs are Chicago's version of the New York Tony Awards.
Okay.
So he's on the committee that makes those selections for shows in Chicago theater.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty cool,
yeah, right. So he's still very much involved and very active in theater. Chet was an instructor. My first class with him was voice and diction. Lovingly, he would bring a stick into class, and he would, it sounds terrible, but he would hit you if your diction wasn't correct. But it was just like a tap, you know what I mean? He wasn't like a full-on. Then eventually went on and got my MFA from Northern Illinois University in DeKalb with its emphasis in acting.
So you mentioned that you've had you were inspired always and just you were creative, you were doing different characters. Is there one defining moment that you realized this is what I want to do, I want to be involved in the theater?
That's funny. I think I was at a cast party for a community theater production I had done, and I met Chet. He had seen the show that night. We got to talking, and he said to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I really want to be an actor." And he said, "So why aren't you? What are you doing? How are you pursuing that?" And at the time I was working as a dental assistant. You know what I mean? I wasn't even in college.
So you mentioned that you came to Lewis for your undergrad.
Yeah.
Then you went to NIU.
Right.
What brought you back?
The program here is small.
Yeah.
We're not a huge school. So when you go to school here, it becomes your home. It very much becomes your home. I actually went to grad school with the current head of the department, Keith White.
Oh, okay.
We went to grad school at the same time. We were roommates and everything. We always kind of had this plan that once we graduate, we're going to come back to Lewis and take over the program, It was always kind of our dream. And I think once you set a goal like that, one way or another, paths will take you different ways and stuff, but you come back.
Yeah.
You always go home. You know what I mean? So coming back to Lewis was literally like coming home.
Yeah.
And that's it's like The Godfather. They kept pulling me back in. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's in a good way, though.
it's fulfilling, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you directed a lot of the shows here.
Yep.
Has there been a one that's been your absolute favorite to direct, or is it kind of hard to pick?
No, it's really hard to pick. People always ask that question, what's your favorite? I always tell them the one I'm working on. It's the one I'm working on. I directed Big Fish this summer, and I
saw that. That was incredible.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. It was absolutely, the cast, the production staff, it was like the stars aligned and everything was just, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was really a labor of love. And I go back to Big Fish a lot, but it seemed like it kind of went full circle for me in the last year because I started with Huckleberry Finn, and then I moved to Clybourne Park, and then I went to Big Fish, and Thematically, a lot of them have roots in Americana, epic stories, you know, that there was this kind of, I was like, God, I keep like kind of doing the same kind of thing. Currently, I just started working on our 12th annual Holiday Spectacular, coming up December 8, 9, and 10. Get your tickets now, because it always sells out.
Yeah.
It's packed. It's like, I just took a reservation for 18 tickets.
Wow.
So it's a family tradition for people. It's wonderful. Our subscribers, grandparents, their kids, it's so much fun to do. So currently working on the Christmas show.
What is the most challenging part about directing a show? Is it a little different every time, or is there something that really just stands out?
It is a little different every time because of the chemistry of people that you're working with. But I think the biggest thing with directing is time management and communication. I'm a big believer that if you say you're going to do something, you do it. It's kind of like being the chef in the kitchen and making sure all the parts are working together and everybody is clear on the same kind of goal and vision and keeping all that together.
So then on the flip side, what's the most rewarding part about the show?
When a show opens,
Yeah.
when it's finally in front of an audience, it's the most terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
It's the most terrifying thing and the most rewarding.
So outside of directing the shows, what is the best part about your job here?
The students, I mean, absolutely. And it can be kind of bittersweet. You see them for 4 years, they come in, they're super green, and they start training and they start working, and by the time they're juniors and seniors, it's like they got it, they get it. And you see that growth, and then they graduate. It's like, okay, you know, which is great. That's the whole goal of educational theater. But it really is the students. The students, it's just so rewarding to see them make those discoveries about themselves, to see the growth in their ability, and the confidence that comes with that as they move forward.
You could offer one piece of advice to an aspiring actor, what would it be?
I think it would be perseverance. You get so many more no's in this industry before you finally get that yes. And you have to have a thick skin and a lot of confidence in yourself and your abilities to keep plugging along. In acting, in theater, as a designer, a director, an actor, it's all going to be about not giving up and pursuing that goal. And to know yourself and to know your abilities. We're our own worst critics. We're so much harder on ourselves than anybody else. You know what I mean? Any other critic or director or anybody that you're working with. But to like, just keep going, just keep pursuing that goal. If it's what you really want,
Yeah.
you won't give up. And to get a network of people around you to support that too is really important.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down with us today.
You're welcome.
This has been On the Arts at Lewis University. Stay tuned for more.
Welcome back to On the Arts at Lewis University. My name is Brendan Rook. Today we're joined with Mike Frail, who is a theater major here at Lewis. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
So start off by telling us a little about where you're from,
Where you grew up and
I'm from Elk Grove Village, about 45 minutes north of here, northwest suburbs. Lived there my whole life.
okay. And what brought you to Lewis University?
I did not initially start at Lewis. I started at Illinois Wesleyan, and I was looking at a school that had a lot of options for transfer students and had a theater program that would be accepting of non-majors or minors, because I didn't come here as a theater major, but plans changed, and I liked just looking at Lewis and the options they had.
Okay. Is there a person or persons that have helped mentor you through this program or given you the most experience or life lessons that you've taken away from it?
Obviously, the theater faculty here at Lewis, Joe Slowick, Keith White, Andrew Nelson, they've just kind of been, Kevin Trudeau, they've all been kind of my mentors, teaching me various different ways, what else to do. My main mentor here has probably been Joe Slowick. She's taught me everything about ranging from publicity to acting to just being a manager and a leader.
Okay. How many shows have you been in here at Lewis?
I've been in 7 shows.
Oh, wow.
And I've worked on 10 of them.
Oh, okay, that's a lot of work.
And I'm about to start work on my 11th.
Oh, nice. So you're gonna what are you doing for that one?
Stage managing.
Stage managing. Okay, cool. Is there on that topic? Has there been a favorite role you've had, or something that's really stood out in one of the plays?
The role I have right now in Inspecting Carol is definitely a highlight because it's something that I don't usually do. I'm playing a 60-year-old British man,
Oh, all right.
so I'm not British at all,
No.
and I'm not 60 or senile. So it's definitely a different feeling. I think probably my favorite role that I've done here was Bobby Strong in Urinetown, because he was not only because yes, he was the lead role, and that's always fun to play the main character, but he was just. It was a cool experience to be learning all of that music and have to just be on my A game 24/7 for that show.
On that again, what has been your favorite production that you like, the most fun you've had overall?
I would have to say my favorite production has probably been Huck Finn last year, just because it was a good start to the school year. We had a lot of shows because it went on fall break. We did 3 high school matinees in one day at
That's
one
impressive.
point. And we just bonded, all of us. And granted, there was like 22 people in that cast.
It's a really
but
big
just-
cast.
It was huge, but to be able to get to personally know every one of those people, because there was a bunch of people in that show that I had never met or never worked with before. So it's a show that we always go back to with stories. And it's easily probably my favorite one.
What's been the hardest play you've ever had to be in?
Huck Finn,
Huck Finn as
actually.
well?
Huck Finn also, because of the fact in that show I had to portray, not only was I portraying Mark Twain in that production, but I also portrayed Huck's father, who is this blatant, drunk, racist jerk, which I'm not at all. So it was interesting to play this role that's so opposite of who I am. And then at one point, I also played a slave auctioneer who is. There's literally a scene where I am selling these people and saying these horrific things. And there was one point where when we staged that scene that Joe had us do it 5 times. And it just took so much out of me mentally that I left the room, and Joe was like, Mike, I want to do it a 6th time. And Jordan goes and she's like, Mike's not here right now. Can we give him a couple seconds?
And you mentioned that during Huck Finn, you guys got really close, the cast individually, knowing everybody. Is that what the whole theater unit is like? Can you talk a little about what the theater unit or dynamic is?
It's definitely a family. And I know that's very cheesy to say. It is cheesy. But because of the fact that we fight like we're brothers and sisters, we fight like we've been with each other since the day we were born, we also love and support each other.
When was your first acting experience?
My first official role in a show was sophomore year of high school. We did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I played Theseus in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay. What has been the most rewarding part about doing theater for you?
It's definitely been getting to know myself more and know my own limitations or my own abilities. I mean, people talk about everything that can come from theater, all the joys, all the sadness of not getting casted, but it's also hardened me, made me stronger as a person, just to know that, okay, I didn't get in this one, next time is whatever, or to know that, oh my gosh, I have that ability to go into that deep, dark place and be able to come out of it for a show. It's just really, the most reward for me has just been getting to know myself more over these years.
Can you tell us a little bit about Inspecting Carol coming up?
It's about this theater troupe they're a repertory company, and they're putting on their annual production of A Christmas Carol, and the company's leadership, their managing director and their founder, learned that the National Endowment for the Arts, the big government agency, has decided to cut their funding due to various circumstances, and they learned that the NEA is sending out one last evaluator to inspect them, inspecting A Christmas Carol, hence the title. And so what happens is the whole cast of the show starts to make these little changes or start to suck up to the inspector just to see what can we do to let you give us this money. This is our livelihood. And at the end of it, it just turns into mass hysterical chaos as they try to do all this stuff and make all these changes, all these additions, and it just turns into a mess, really.
You've done a lot in the theater, from light, sound, stage directing. Is there, I mean, obviously you probably would like to be an actor one day, but is there anything else you've been interested in doing?
I do love the stage management side of it. I'm going on to my 3rd time doing it here at the PLT, which everyone says is some big deal because it doesn't happen a lot, because it is a lot of work. You're essentially doubling as the assistant director. You are in charge of the show when it opens. It is a lot of work, but I like, this may sound strange, but I like having that responsibility on my shoulders because I've learned that I can do it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yes, would I love to be an actor just performing on stage, but I also love just kind of being the guy taking all the puzzle pieces and putting it into place. Because that's really, at the end of the day, what the stage manager's role is. They are in charge of everything that happens and making sure that everything goes smoothly every night.
If you could offer a piece of advice to an incoming freshman about the theater program, what would it be?
Walk in the door, honestly. It may seem like a cutthroat business on TV or whatever, and in the professional world, it is at times. And even at times here, if there's a show where there's only 4 or 5 people in it, it is nitty-gritty, difficult business. But you're never gonna know if you're afraid if you can do it. So my advice to anyone is, if you have even the remotest interest, show up. And if you don't want to audition, come and just house manage, come see a show, come like just meet us. We don't bite. Most of the time. But just show up, come say hi, and join. We love everyone. Really.
Mike, thanks for joining us today. This has been On the Arts at Lewis University. Stay tuned for more.
Hi, I'm Natasha Zugras here on the Arts at Lewis University. Today we're sitting with Keith White, Director of Theater at Lewis. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good today.
All right, so where are you from originally?
Joliet, Illinois, right down the street,
Oh, perfect.
east side, right? Yeah, born and bred.
So you've been here your entire life?
Yes, love it.
And what got you started in theater?
In theater, well, I was in 8th grade, went to St. Mary Magdalene in Joliet on the east side, and when we were in 8th grade, we went to Joliet East High School, which is no longer in existence, and we saw the musical. It was Finian's Rainbow, and I knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do. So,
Awesome.
and it's been that way ever since. So,
Cool.
yeah.
And then where did you go to study theater?
Actually, I started here because I started seeing shows here. I had a friend, a high school friend, who had been in a production here, you know, because they needed somebody younger, and so a group of us kept coming out to see the shows out at Lewis my junior and senior year, and so I knew I was coming here my freshman year, and that's what brought me to Lewis, was the theater program.
So you didn't have any other colleges in mind? You knew exactly
None.
Lewis?
I knew, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I did. And actually, I was going in. I didn't get a degree in theater. I got a degree in speech education
Okay.
because I wanted to be a high school teacher. You know.
Okay. And then how many plays have you directed here at Lewis?
I think this is my 63rd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I started here in 1980.
Okay.
So
I can't imagine. How many plays per year do you guys usually?
we do 5 main stage productions a year, a big musical in the summer, and then 2 each semester, and then every other spring we do a musical, you know, as part of that. So.
What is your favorite part about being at Lewis? The teaching, the directing?
Well, they're all, you know, I love the theater aspect of it, naturally. And I always wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to be a teacher very young. So the teaching is always good. Yeah, it's the whole thing. Again, you know, I don't know what I can say is my favorite. You know, in teaching, and a lot of that with teaching is, you know, I think more in my court in the fact that whether I teach a good class or not. You know,
Right.
some days you can walk out of class and go, yeah, you know, I did something. And some days, you know.
Well,
Yeah, but the entire, yeah, I think that it's the whole package that is fun because, you know, right now at this level too, directing is also teaching. You know, you're teaching them things like some of the students in this cast maybe not have been in a comedy before.
Right.
You know, like this. So, you know, you're, besides directing, you're still teaching.
At the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about the play the day they shot John Lennon?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, that was, you know, interesting for me because I performed in it.
Okay.
And, you know, they needed a 70-year-old Jewish man. So who are you going to call? And that was fun. You know, I don't do that. I think I did that maybe about 10 years ago. You know, you know, the parts are for the students.
Right.
But this was, you know, a little bit different. So it was a lot of fun to be on stage again with working with the students. I had to be sure that, you know, I had everything down, you know,
Right.
so it's like, you know, do as I do, not as I say, you know. But no, that was a great experience.
What has been your most rewarding experience at Lewis?
I think the experience of seeing Lewis grow, since I've basically been here, with the exception of 2-3 year periods, one for graduate school and one for working professionally, I think the most rewarding thing is seeing Lewis grow. Because in the 70s, in the mid-70s, early 70s, the place was a real pit. You know, it really was. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ugly. There was, you know, in the late 70s, early 80s, financial concerns. Were we still going to go? Keep going, and to see where it is now is that's just a joy.
Yeah.
You know, see everything booming.
And then finally, if you can give one piece of advice to an aspiring student that wants to go into theater or an actor, what would you tell them?
They need to be very committed, and they need to know a business end, that because they are their own business manager. You know, oftentimes you get a job, you have somebody else that you have a boss, somebody
Right.
who tells you what to do. When you're in the theater, you're in charge of your own life. You know, so besides being talented, you also have to know how to work the business end, how to get a job, what to do, and you know, not to that you have to be thick-skinned, because you know, people often go to a job interview, you know, how often in their life, you know, and in the theater, it's like you go to a job interview all the time, and you know, auditions and, you know, rejection, being able to take that.
Right. It's a big part of.
Yeah, it's rough. It's not at all an easy life.
Thank you for joining us. This has been On the Arts at Lewis University.
Welcome back to On the Arts at Lewis University. I'm Natasha Zugris, and today we're sitting with Kayla Carson, a theater major here at Lewis. Where are you from originally, Kayla?
I am from Burbank, so it's about 45 minutes away from here.
Commute here, or do you live here?
I live here, thankfully. I mean, I miss home, but it's nice to have the security of living here.
Awesome. And what got you interested in acting in the first place?
Yeah, well, actually, I grew up as an athlete. I was a hockey player, a baseball player, and I did some softball and volleyball. And I really like to sing, though. My parents always said that I would sing with the radio, and I loved it. So in 7th grade, I found out my junior high was doing a musical, and I was like, oh, cool, I want to sing, let's go. And I auditioned and I got a role, and ever since then, I don't know what it was just, this is going to sound cheesy, but it was honestly magical. It was.
Awesome. So then, in lieu of that, why did you choose Lewis?
Yeah, well, actually, I was looking into the New York Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Oh, wow.
And that was too expensive and too far.
Yeah.
So I came to Lewis, and like I said, I don't know what it was with the theater, with these people, with the campus itself. I just felt comfortable here. As soon as I drove in, and it felt like I was home. So I figured that was kind of like the inkling that this is the place I needed to be.
Nice. Do you have any favorite actors or actresses, or an influence that got you into theater or acting?
Yeah. This is going to kind of sound a little weird, but I love Winona Ryder.
Okay.
I feel like she's very underrated, but she totally embodies the art of theater and acting itself, and I really look up to her for that.
What's one of your favorite movies or shows that she's been in that you...
I really like Girl Interrupted.
Okay.
It's twisted, it's dark, but she really, really did an amazing job. Her and Angelina Jolie both, they were great scene partners. They they really, really did a great job.
Awesome. What has been one of your favorite classes here as far as acting goes or theater?
Yeah, I have to say my favorite class here was Acting 1, so I took that last year, which was my freshman year. And what I felt I liked most about it is Keith White, the chair of the theater. He got me to get away from myself and just do it and do what I love. And he always reminded me, you know, it's okay, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is, I will keep that in my heart forever, I feel.
Is there a specific production that stands out to you the most, or your favorite, or the most challenging?
I would have to say that the most challenging show that I've been in was The Triumph of Love. It was the November show last year. It was one of my first shows here, and we had a very small cast. All of us had an equal amount of dialogue. It was insane. And it was somewhat Shakespearean, and the memorization part was very hard, especially with the small cast. It was very, like I said, it was hard. It was somewhat frustrating, but it was so rewarding in the end.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Here at the theater, you guys have a pretty close-knit group going on.
Yeah.
How has that benefited you in your acting or your entire experience at Lewis?
Yeah, well, what I feared about going to a school for theater, I visited DePaul, and it just seemed different, the whole dynamic of the theater. And when I came here, I really felt that there was always a place for you to go. If you got out of a class and you had nothing to do, you could come to the theater and hang out. Someone will always be here. And I don't want to say it's like a family, because you just said that, but it's very important to have those kinds of connections with people, especially networking purposes.
Right.
And I feel like this theater truly embodies that, especially with the connections with the alumni, which are also very important.
Right.
We just had a meet and greet with the alumni for Inspecting Carol of 1996.
Wow.
And we all met up and we talked, and it was just the networking, and there was never a bad word about this theater from those people, and I truly believe that is so true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If there's any piece of advice you can give to a student thinking about going into theater or an incoming freshman, what would you tell them?
I think just being yourself. Use everything that you have to give, and most of all, do something that you are so passionate about that it doesn't even feel like a job, or, you know, it's all about really, truly just being so caught up in what you're doing and loving what you do, because you can tell if someone loves what they do, that makes all the difference.
A little bit about the holiday show that's coming up.
Oh yeah, so this is our 12th annual holiday spectacular. This will be the second year for me, so I've only been here for 2 years. But it is so much fun. Just my favorite part, I did sound design last year. My favorite part was sitting up in the booth and just looking at all the young ones and their families.
Yeah.
They really, really enjoy it, because we do spoofs of top hits in Christmas form, and we engage with the audience. We have pictures with Santa. They can come up on the stage and play games beforehand. It's really, truly a family show, and I'm so glad that we do something like this, because it's so popular.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you know, are you going to be working sound again this year, or something different?
Actually, I'm going to be in it this year.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I mean, I love doing sound, but I just want to see how it feels to be on stage with that big of a group, and looking at how happy the audience can get is so much fun.
Awesome. What do you want to do once you graduate from Lewis? What do you see yourself doing in the next 3-4 years?
Yeah, well, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I always say that I will do my best to make it. I won't give up. I want to be, whether it be a stage actress or on screen, I want to be there one day. And I truly feel that after I graduate Lewis, I will move on to receive my master's in fine arts. So if acting doesn't work out, I can always teach.
Right.
What I want to do, I guess, for the rest of my life is just make a difference wherever I go.
Thanks, Kayla, for joining us. This has been On the Arts at Lewis University. Thanks for watching.